Hi friends, how are you? Today we're going to talk about the lead designer. So, what is a lead designer into a car design organization? In every design studio, as you know, we have a structure. And the structure goes from the design director, design managers, project managers. We have the lead designers or experienced designers. And then we have also expert designers, young designers, those that just arrive for the first time on the real job, and therefore they're there to learn a lot, especially during their first 2 years. Today we're going to talk about the lead designer because some design organizations recently changed their design organization with with a sort of a fragmentation of the roles. So, if 10, 15 years ago we had a design project manager that would deal directly with the design director and also with designers, expert designs and stuff, to make sure that the project, he could manage the project between the design needs and then also the company needs in terms of engineering, product planning, marketing, suppliers and stuff like that, so that it can accompany and protect the design, the chosen design as much as possible. Today we are more into a situation where we have the creative part that is done by young designers with, of course, the help of expert designers. They all are in competition and make their proposals until the design director will choose, the idea that will be used to be developed and then become the real project. And then you have the lead designer, that is an expert designer with several years of experience that really knows how things work. So he is really a creative, person that also has a very strong knowledge that is technical knowledge. Basically the same one of design project manager, like me, for example. But the idea is that the lead designer, under full responsibility of the design director, can give a strong orientation with technical knowledge of how the creative thing has to be done, how the design has to be developed for that given project. In this scenario, I'm sure you go asking yourself, well, then why do you need a design project manager? The design project manager, which is, I repeat, what I do in the company, is a sort of a lawyer. That's how I call it. I see myself more like a lawyer that is there to defend design and promote the design, the chosen design, within the company, to make sure that the whole project team, so not just design, but also the rest of the company in the project team, I repeat, the engineering, which is most important, that also has the budget to make the project, and then planning, product, marketing, suppliers, interior plastic parts, exterior plastic parts, the company, the facility that will make the metal parts. I mean, all together, they can accept and they can work on that given design, chosen design. Now, to do that, of course, my role is to make sure that I am the right link between the lead designer and the creative team, and also the technical part of the project team. So all the other people I already talked about. However, my role, being a designer myself, is also to make sure that the briefing of the project, the timing of the project, which means the planning, the cost and the design cost of that project, those things, and the quality, I already said the quality is very important, all those things are respected. Because every project that we receive, they have a very clearly specified how much money in budget the design family has in order to make that project between interior, exterior and color material, and how much money there is for product planning, how much money for engineering, for technology, for assembling, realizing the parts. And then there are all the contracts that we have to make, of course, with suppliers to make the parts. You understand that the design project manager is the link between a very complex machine. He is representing design, he or she is representing design, and on the other side you only have engineers. Of all the other firms, they're basically all engineers. And plus the suppliers, when suppliers get into the game. And suppliers in general, they have their rules. So you have to make sure that you have strong arguments to defend what you want to do, so that suppliers will do what you want them to do. And also with the same cost that has been decided before. So this is another thing, very important to keep in mind. So the lead designer in all this, film scenario, he is responsible to amplify the creative idea, help to transform that creative idea into a feasible idea, and not always that feasible idea, even if it's feasible and has the desired design, not always is respecting the cost or the timing sometimes, or sometimes can give problems in terms of quality. So the design project manager works, with the lead designer to make sure that they agree together what type of modifications we can do to the design in some details sometimes, not to change the design, not at all, but just to make sure that all the parameters that are given parameters in terms of quality, timing, and cost are respected. So once both of them are agree, we move on with virtual model. We analyze those virtual models with the engineering. In that case, the design project manager makes sure that in the right timing, that model has been transferred to the engineering, that the engineer makes the technical analysis with the feedback, precise feedback, in a shorter time possible, and then get back that information to make sure that the lead designer gets that information and applies or negotiates with the design project manager the type of modifications, or simply respect what they said in terms of feedback. And that's the way we work together to make sure that an idea becomes a real model, respecting all the fundamentals of that project. The design project manager is the guarantee, guarantees that this is correct according to what the company decided to do for that project. And then, of course, there are presentations, important meetings, for design arbitration, for example. If there is a conflict, the design director gets into the game sometimes when it's required, because there are several levels of decision makings. When at our level it's not working or the conflict remains, then we decided to move that conflict on the upper level so that the big bosses can talk between themselves, explain themselves, and sometimes, we change, or sometimes we don't change. The engineering department has to change, because usually it's with the engineering department, which is very strong in politics. Political wise, in the company, the engineering team, of course, has the strongest, the strongest part. Okay, so this is an ideal way of working all together. But sometimes things don't go that way, because what happens, for example, between the lead designer and the project manager, the design project manager, things don't go well. It can happen. It can happen that you want to, in terms of design management, what is the strategy to adopt? For example, you choose your friends within that big team, because they will help you to make other people accept what you want to do. It's a strategy, it's just tactics. But when we start a project, in general, we choose, we know who are the people within the company project that might be on your side, and those that will never be on your side. So you have to, to start trying to figure out how to make a sort of a small club of people that think like you and are ready to help you. But to do that, you must be very credible. And to be credible, it's not just the capacity of understanding cost, technology, how things work, and show that your design is respecting that. It's also to make sure that your design is cohesive compared to what you have been talking, what you have been saying, and also what the design team that is working with you is producing. So sometimes can happen that the lead designer doesn't agree. Oh, no, I want to do this way. I will talk to my boss. You will see we are right. So you find yourself with a different answer that might be a nice answer in terms of design, but is not respecting, for example, the cost, because it's much more expensive. And we know that we don't have that money. So the risk is that after 2-3 months of insisting on that thing, and of course you are not in war within your same family, you try to help, try to see if you can convince, but if you insist, what happens is that you find yourself between two fires. One fire which is internal, that says, no, you have to push for this. And the other fire that is external, but is the most important, because is that the fire that is that the team, the whole people that will tell you, yeah, we're gonna do the car the way you want, that will be against you. So this conflict between design project manager and lead designer can provoke a lot of headaches. Now, this does not happen all the time, I want to make sure, but can happen sometimes, even in a short period of time during the same project. And of course, you have to deal with the egos, you have to deal with personalities, you have to deal with people that may be a little bit frustrated, or people they really honestly believe that they're right, when you know, because of the analysis of the whole project, that certain things you cannot accept. If I have only $2 or €2 to produce this element, you cannot make a design that will make this part, cost double. Because you have to multiply that price for 100,000 parts produced. The other team members of the whole project also are trying to reduce as much as they can what they have to do with the right quality and the right timing, but they are still trying to reduce costs. You cannot say, hey, you know what, I'm the design, so you're gonna do what we want because we're gonna sell this project because of our design. Sometimes we have just to make little, small changes. And this is the part where some lead designer don't catch. This is the part where some lead designer insist because they believe that you, as a design project manager, are basically doing more the interest of the engineering team rather than design. And this is fake, it's false, it's not true. Especially in my case, it's my projects. But the thing is that in the political strategy of making sure that the whole design is accepted, I already know where I can make some concession. In agreement with my director, we know that if we change a few millimeters of a cut line, if you change a little bit the inclination of a part, so that instead of making two parts, you can make that part in one part, which is cheaper, the real client will never see the difference. How do you manage those conflicts? Because the lead designer, it's very important. He's really the pivot, in between this type of relationship, professional relationship. And if becomes stubborn on some positions, that creates a high risk in the project development, because you run the risk that during the design process the planning gets always shorter, and if you don't bring that solution, that design solution, so that everybody agrees, it's the engineering that in an arbitration design meeting will take the decision for you. And this is something that you want to avoid all the time. Because if they do, it's the whole design work that is useless. How do we make sure that we can cope with those type of problems with the design lead? Also, sometimes the lead designer comes back on his words, on his position. And this means that the guy or the girl are people that have a strong sense of responsibility. Also because they recognize that if you make that little change, it's not going to destroy the design. It's not going to change the quality of that design or the appreciation of that design. It's not. It's sometimes so technical that you can give it up. There is no big deal. Believe me, no big deal. I see this every day. In some other cases, when people are stubborn, then I make sure that my director talks to his director. And of course, with the support of images, explaining theory, everything we want to explain to convince the other guy that the lead designer is exaggerating or that he's insisting too much, that he has to give up. You know, I give up also in some meetings. I go very hard. No, we don't want this. We won't insist. And then when I see that I cannot win that thing, I will use that concession on my side to win something else that is more important. And in general, I do win. So I prepare a card to play, you know, that I know from the beginning that I will give up on that to gain something else that is much more important. And this is something that lead designers don't understand. Because they are not into those meetings. They are not dealing, you know, with everybody else. So this is something that we try to explain to lead designers, but they are not able, most of the times they are not able to understand that right away. They get that point later on. So sometimes, let's say the truth is a little bit hassling, you know, working like that, because things could go much smoother, follow the direction of our strategy, and just relax, because we're gonna take home our design and that one is going to go into production. So the lead designer, it's an extremely important role, but sometimes can create problems. So to all the lead designers that are looking at this video, I hope, I don't know if you feel like me, if you see yourself in what I just told, maybe you want to leave some comments. By the way, if you want to offer me a coffee and you are on YouTube, you can always hit the thanks, the hyper button, whatever. It's that available today down here. And I thank you very much. Okay. And if you find this podcast very interesting, put your like. If you are new, subscribe. And big hug to members of this channel that are watching this video before anybody else. Thank you very much, and see you Tuesday for our live, like every Tuesday at 6 p.m. French time. Ciao. Thank you very much. Bye bye.